We will be starting the debate between candidate Louis Marinelli and candidate Fuji at 11 o'clock in approximately 20 minutes. In approximately 20 minutes, we will start the debate. It will not start until 1 o'clock. That's really impressive. There's going to be some really great videos coming. I can tell. I can tell. The debate will start at 1 o'clock in approximately 20 minutes. In approximately 20 minutes, the debate will start at 1 o'clock. We are live streaming ahead of time in order to make sure there's no tech issues, and everybody who wants to participate will be able to get in, and we will start our time at 11 a.m. We will be starting the debate at 11 a.m. The debate will start at 11 a.m. At 11 a.m. in just a few minutes, we'll be starting the debate at 11 a.m. I have everything technically plugged in. It all looks like it's working out. Waiting for Mr. Shiora and Marinelli, both candidates, to be here. I talked to both of them this morning, so they are both aware that they need to be here before 11. So I believe that we will be starting on time at 11 o'clock. Additionally, we will be previewing the new Yes California commercial for the recall debates. And we will be premiering that live today. Yes California was able to hire 30-year veteran of the Broadway stage, Bill Hensley, to record a brief commercial on the recall candidates series that we're having. So we're looking forward to that. We will be showcasing that today. Yeah, we got an actual Broadway play musician to record a commercial for us. So took a little bit of doing, a little bit of cash. Got it done, though. I think everybody will be impressed if people hate it all. Never air it again, but I think you're going to like what you see. And I think you'll be impressed. So let's straighten this tie out. There we go. Wearing a new tie today. Look at that. Whoa. Looks good. We will start in about 10 minutes, maybe 12. Oh, you like the tie? Thank you. Yes. This comes from the Ishmawi collection. I picked up a couple different ties and jackets from Christine Ishmawi, a California-based designer. So very pleased to do that. We are still waiting a few minutes. Getting there, very close. We'll be starting at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. We'll have a recall candidates debate one-on-one between candidates Marinelli and Fuji on the topic of California independence at the request of candidate Shiora. Candidate Shiora requested a debate one-on-one, which all candidates are able to have on any topic. Candidate Shiora requested a debate with candidate Louis Marinelli on the topic of California independence. Any candidate that we have contact with in the recall candidate debates is allowed to challenge any other candidate to a one-on-one debate on any topic they would like. We cannot guarantee these, but we will forward the communication. If the other candidate accepts, then the debate happens, as in this case. Some people are asking other people to debates. Sometimes they're accepting, sometimes not. So it's really up to the candidates, and we only forward the communication between them. All right. Yes, California started in 2014 as Sovereign California. We changed the name around 2015. And so we started in February 2014 opposing out of the Walmart in Fresno County. So the first CalExit event was the Walmart in Fresno County in February 2014. The organization was technically called Sovereign California. It consisted of myself, Louis Marinelli, Sam, Bart Gilbert, Dave, Mark, and Stuart, and Theo. And we opposed the plan to split California up into multiple states. So there was an initiative at that time called the Six Californias, and we opposed that, saying, you don't need to split California up. We're a nation, not just a state. And we were able to get as much attention as the official Democratic, Republican, Sacramento-backed, funded organization opposing that. So you had the official political establishment trying to oppose the Tim Draper plan for 6 states, and they got as much attention as Sovereign California, who had no money and no backing and no expertise and just appeared on the scene. And we were able to get as much attention as a $300,500,000 campaign with well-respected political experts, and the only thing we did was say California is like a nation. And we knew then that when we were saying that, and we were getting as much press attention as the politically backed official organization against the Tim Draper plan, which had been funded and well-resourced, we knew that there was something going on. There was no way that we should even approach the event horizon of that other group and their efficacy of getting a message out. And we were as good. And that's on Ballotopedia. If you look at the 2014 groups that opposed the Tim Draper 6 states, we were got just as much of attention, rank amateurs. And the thing that we were saying that was getting attention was California's, it's a country. So we knew then that that was a message that people responded to. And we had hard metrics to prove how successful it was. That inspired all of us, and we just kept going. Changed the name to Yes California around 2015 because the Scottish independence movement had the Yes Scotland campaign, and they finished up with that campaign. And so all of their intellectual property was on the public domain, and we borrowed it, which is legal. They had used it for a campaign. They said, we're done, and they basically didn't care. So we borrowed all their stuff and changed it from Yes Scotland to Yes California. Because at that time, they had the most respectable independence movement. And we were trying to follow a legal path and show ourselves as people who were dedicated to following a structured path for independence. And they did that. Hello, Mrs. Clark. It's blue, like Yes California. You can get your own Yes California brand water bottle. I'm joking. We won't have those yet. The Flower of Scotland. When will we see its like again? I think soon. The Scottish people are not discouraged about their ability to become independent. They just aren't. So I think they're going to keep pushing at it. Okay, both candidates should be here about now in the next few minutes. I will wait about 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to start calling them. You. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see.
Sorry. Fuji, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Oh, I can. Yes.
Okay, score. We are waiting for candidate Marinelli. We still have 3 minutes to start the debate. The debate will be one-on-one between you and Mr. Marinelli on the topic of California independence and its future. Questions will come from the moderator directed to both of you. We'll have a 2-minute opening for both candidates, followed by a series of questions from me, the moderator, with a minute and a half to answer each question.
Sounds good.
Looks like you already have a fan.
Hello, Jason.
All right. Okay. We will be hopefully starting on time at 11 o'clock. The debate will be between Louis Marinelli and Fuji Shiora at 11 o'clock a.m. on the topic of California independence. At 12, an hour from now, you can see debate with Mr. Marinelli and Mr. Wildstar on the topic of CalExit. So back-to-back debates on these topics, slightly different. And of course, the material and the content will be wildly different as each candidate brings their unique perspective on the topic of California independence. We will start in approximately 2 minutes. We are waiting for candidate Marinelli to join us shortly, and then we will start the debate.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do have to say that to be here. I've been meeting a lot of voters, Democrat, Republican, Libertarians, Green Party, that have shared their interest, about California independence. Um, it's not a new thing. I remember hearing it way back when people just talk about it, but probably because of now, it's getting more serious. Whole host of reasons: the economy, the weather, the climate, immigration. But definitely, what is interesting is that I'm meeting so many people that have so diverse political backgrounds. They are interested. They're asking me, where do I stand on it? And I have to say that if they take a vote, you know, do we as elected officials, should we obey and listen to them? Can an elected official have two masters? That's a question I often ask myself. Do I serve the government or do I serve the will of the people?
Good question. You got a compliment there, Jason Rice.
Thank you, Jason. Mhm.
You help prove that politics doesn't need to be dirty or aggressive. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, it's so true, because at the end of the day, there are people who want to do harm to America, do harm California, foreign adversaries in one fashion or another. And for us to be so politically divided, it doesn't hurt them, it hurts us. So it's true. I think it's so important that other people get involved. And I hope the other candidates running for California governor join us. Hello, Lewis.
Hello.
Welcome.
Let me just do a sound check real quick. Candidate Marinelli, can you hear candidate Shiora?
Yes, can you hear me?
Candidate
Yes.
Shiora, can you hear candidate Marinelli?
Yes.
Can both of you hear me?
Yes. I'll use my microphone.
Okay. Score. Thank you both for being here. We're going to get started. I'm going to do a commercial and then a special recall candidate commercial for these debates. We hired a Broadway actor to do that recently. Very pleased to complete those negotiations. We'll be showcasing that recently. And then we will go to the debate. The debate format will be a 2-minute opening per candidate. I will moderate the time, followed by questions that both candidates will be able to answer for a minute and a half per question. We hope to have back and forth dialogue. So again, we're going to go to the commercial. I will then explain the format of the debates, but roughly it will be a 2-minute opening statement per candidate, followed by a series of questions that get at the main topic today, and with 1.5 minutes per response per question. Okay, let's get right to it.
debate. Hosted by Yes California.
Hope you enjoyed that. What that was, Broadway actor Bill Hensley, 30 years teaching and doing Broadway plays. We had a short introduction just for the debate to class it up a little bit. Thank you, Bill.
Hey, Mark, just because I like to shake things up a little bit, I changed my microphone. So if you lose my sound, just let me know.
I can hear you. Candidate Shura, can you hear Candidate Marinelli?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
We haven't changed it yet, but I'm changing it now.
Okay. Do you want me to wait a minute for the mic check to change to go through?
It's happening in about 10 seconds. So if
Okay.
I just keep talking right now, and if you stop hearing me talk, then tell me no.
Okay. All right.
Can you hear me talking?
Yes. We'll just wait a few seconds, everybody. We're going to work on
changed at all? Has
I
it sound- Can you hear me?
Yes. There's a slight delay, but we can hear you.
Okay, well, let's go with that then.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
All right, we're going to allow for a slight 1 second delay for candidate Marinelli. Please bear with us. Let's get right to it. The candidates today are Louis Marinelli, a registered candidate for the gubernatorial recall election, versus Fuji Shura, another declared candidate for the recall election. Fuji Shura asked to debate candidate Marinelli on the topic of California being a nation and what that could mean. Candidate Marinelli accepted. Yes, California, put them together and set up the time. We're going to go now to a 2-minute opening statement per candidate. We'll go to Mr. Shura first. Mr. Shura, in 2 minutes, we'd like an opening statement from you as to why you're running for office, or perhaps your opinion on the topic of California independence and its potentiality in the near future. Candidate Shura.
Thank you, Marcus, Louis. I'm very happy to be here. And as an elected official, I think it's my responsibility to be here. I've met so many voters that have asked me my opinion, where do I stand on California independence? Because they inquired, they questioned, they looked into, would California be a better place to live, work, study as a sovereign nation? And that is a complicated question indeed. However, as an elected official, I often ask myself, do I have to serve two masters, the government, the people, or is only one? I'm running for California governor to serve the public, the people, the voters, the Californians. I was born in California, San Diego, and I'm proud to represent Californians in so many diverse groups. Now more than ever, vigorous dialogue has to be part of the discussion. And as far as I know, this is the only platform talking about that serious question about California independence and a whole host of other questions. That's why I'm very grateful for the organization, Yes California, that said yes to freedom of speech and yes to a lively debate. That is so important. Having a debate is a part of the election process. It's a part of keeping voters informed. And this is why I'm here. This is why I'm running for California governor. And soon you're going to hear some debates on California independence. Visit my website at www.governor.life. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Marinelli, your opening statement. Candidate Marinelli.
Well, thank you for having this discussion with me, Mr. Fuji. And thank you, Marcus, for organizing it. I know you're working very hard on your end to organize this unique opportunity for the candidates in general to discuss the debates and the issues of California with the people of California, because it's not happening anywhere else. So I appreciate the work you've been doing on your end. My name is Louis Marinelli. I am the Calixa candidate for governor. I'm running on a very simple plan and a very simple program. That program is based on declaring California an independent country. And the reasons for that are many, but they boil down to two basic points. The first point is we are going to reduce the cost of living in California. And the second point is we are going to increase the quality of life in California. We can do those two things by keeping California's taxes in California. Whereas right now we are subsidizing the other states in the American South, and we are subsidizing to a very expensive amount of money the American military regime and their military adventures abroad. By keeping California's taxes in California and by reducing our military expenditures, we will have the money we need to continue every current government program and agency that's currently in operation today that the people of California enjoy and rely upon, but also free up tens and hundreds of billions of dollars more to increase the quality of life in California and reduce the cost of living in California. That's what this campaign is about. It's not just some philosophical debate about secession because, well, we want to. These are two important points. We want to increase the quality of life in California. We want to reduce the cost of living in California, both of which can be achieved through independence. And that's why I'm running for California governor. A vote for Marinelli, a vote for me, is a vote for independence. Independence will be on the ballot this year in California. Visit my website at calixatgovernor.com.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the first question. Each candidate will have the chance to respond in a minute and a half, and then we'll go to the next candidate. Additionally, if you want to direct your responses to each other, you can. Recently, Joe Biden was elected as United States president. Is there still a reason to Calexit? Calexit has always been a fantasy of Californians going back to, I believe, 2005 with Pulitzer Prize winning LA Times writer Pat Morrison. In 2016, with the election of Donald Trump, it showed 32% of Californians were ready for full-blown secession. But Joe Biden was elected, and Joe Biden is supposed to be the opposite of Donald Trump. What reason would Californians have to secede now that Trump's gone and Biden is here? Is there still a reason? Candidate Shiora, minute and a half, please.
For me, as an elected official, I want to say I'd rather keep California, our state, in the union. However, I did speak to voters, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party, and almost everything in between. And they have voiced a concern that it's far beyond a Republican-Democrat issue. It transcends presidential nominations or Democrat nominations of Congress people or people at the municipal level. The voters I talked to, they said they are interested and passionate about California becoming a country for various reasons. Some of them are economic, personal, and other issues like immigration. So for me, the voters I talked to, no, it's irrelevant if Biden or Trump was president. It's a more local issues on taxation and local issues on their schools and safety, environment. So no, it's irrelevant whoever is president, Trump or Biden. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Candidate Marinelli.
Well, look, my position on the matter is this. I think that you have two parties in this country that can realistically win an election based on the way that our system of government and our system of elections are set up to begin with. It is set up in a way where third parties don't have a realistic chance of winning. That's an unfortunate situation. We in California can change that. California can institute a situation where we have third parties in a legislature in Sacramento that represent not just the Republicans and the Democrats, but also, like Mr. Fuji was saying, members of other parties. The problem that we have in America, and this is one of the reasons why we support Calexit, is that that's not going to change in America. We're not going to get rid of this two-party system in America. We can do that in California, especially if we become an independent country, because the process of which will involve redesigning the way our system of government works from the ground up. Here's the problem. The two-party system is a monster with two legs, a left leg and a right leg. Donald Trump was the right leg, and he took a step forward with that. And now Joe Biden is the left leg, and he's taking another step forward into the future. But they're both moving the same monster. And so it's the left foot, right foot, the same monster moving forward, nothing really changing. The people think that they're changing things by selecting a Democrat or a Republican. And in some small issues here and there, they might have a difference of opinion. But regardless of their differences of opinion, not really much actually changes in our laws and our policies and in the things that we do as a country overseas. I mean, I would challenge basically anybody to tell me the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump on policy, not on personality. Of course, there's a slew of differences when it comes to Donald Trump and Joe Biden when it comes to personality, when it comes to their charisma and the things that they say in public. But when they actually sit down in the White House and things get done or don't get done, I haven't really seen that much of a difference. So no, I don't think that there's a difference now that Joe Biden has been elected, that all of a sudden we need to say that, no, we don't need to leave the union.
Thank you. Joe Matthews is a major policy reporter. He's been called Mr. California for covering California topics over the last 20 years. If you talk about California and reporting on a government, you've certainly heard of Joe Matthews. Well, recently, Joe Matthews said something quite exhilarating. He said that the Supreme Court of America is biased against California and hates our values. He said that in major mainstream publications over the last 2 months. He said the hate and bias of the conservative Supreme Court is so bad that the Supreme Court justices should be ready to have their rulings ignored. Do you support major policy reporters like Joe Matthews saying the Supreme Court is so bad and so conservative and so anti-California that we should effectively ignore their rulings? Essentially a topic akin to secession. Candidate Fuji Shirai.
California already is in many ways, it acts like a country as its own. So it's already ignoring a lot of federal laws. People may not know this, but in our election code, we do have a provision that allows foreign observers to watch our election. So we're already doing it now. That, the Supreme Court being very animosity towards California. I don't believe that. I don't believe the Supreme Court has any animosity towards any particular state. I do feel, however, that because of the influence that we have in Congress, the most members of Congress, there might be some form of pushback. But no, animosity at that level, at the highest court in the land, no, I don't believe so, and I don't feel it. However, I do believe in the other state Supreme Courts, perhaps there would be some animosity if and when California attempts to succeed or leave the union. Thank you.
Candidate Marinelli. What to do about a dominant conservative Supreme Court? Is Joe Matthews too extreme, saying that we should ignore their rulings, or is he not?
Well, I don't think that it's an extreme statement. I think it's a fair statement, and I think it's fair mostly because if you're talking about whether or not California should begin or continue to violate federal laws, basically, I think that the federal government has set a great example in how to violate federal laws. They violate their own federal laws. They violate the Constitution on a constant basis. And so from that point of view, I think it's kind of hypocritical for the federal government and the United States in general to expect that any state, particularly California, which has such different values and public policy preferences, to go ahead and toe the line and follow federal law. So I think that, sure, when the conservative Supreme Court, which of course represents a judicial philosophy that's different from many of the values that Californians have, I think that it would be necessary and appropriate for California to violate those or not adhere to those rulings. I mean, not just talking about whether or not they should do it, but I think it's necessary and appropriate.
Okay. We're going to return to this question, but I'm going to frame it differently. Californians were told that the soul of America was reflected in the election between Trump and Biden. With Joe Biden winning, Biden and the federal government said a return to decency has happened, normalcy, and the true soul of the United States of America. Recently, though, over the last couple months, Californians have watched Joe Biden back up many previous Trump policies, such as saying he wants to continue construction of the border wall. He initially did not want to adjust the refugee caps. He wanted to keep them at the punishment level set by Donald Trump. He additionally has refused to go to the border, along with his vice president. He has children in cages who do not get medical attention, are not allowed to see elected officials, and are not allowed to see reporters, something Trump was horribly criticized by. Also, Biden recently allowed a blockage of weapon sales to Ukraine and a removal of an embargo against Russia so they could sell gas to Europe. Additionally, he's kept the trade war with China. Additionally, he said he would not criticize the Saudi government for the mutilation of a journalist, and he would not criticize the Chinese government for genocide. These were all acts that disgusted Californians. Now Joe Biden's doing exactly the same thing. Should Californians have faith in America as being able to hold their values, or should they not, based upon far too many similarities between the previous president Californians could not stand and the current one? Candidate Shior.
You know, such rhetoric like that was the reason why so many voters came to me and told me and mentioned and talked about and debated, should California become a country? They're really upset about the divisiveness that some Democrats and some Republicans are. For example, when you say a decent country, so the other 50% that voted for Trump are somehow indecent. So the Republicans and Democrats that talk to me about California independence, one thing they do agree on is they are not in favor of such rhetoric. They're not in favor of such divisiveness. And this is particularly why so many voters have voiced their concern about Cal exit or California country. So unfortunately, on many foreign policy issues, I don't see much difference with Biden or Trump. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
The question is to candidate Marinelli. Given the similarities between the Biden and Trump presidency on many issues that were anathema to the soul of California, should Californians have faith in the federal government, or should they see it as a culture that's permanently divided from what matters most to them? Candidate Marinelli.
Well, I would just continue my answer to the similar question from before. We were talking about the same monster and the left and the right leg and the Democrats and the Republicans moving forward in the future with step by step into the future, but they're all moving the same monster forward. Well, that monster is wearing the same pair of pants, the same shoes, hopefully are matching. And so what that means is that even though you have the left leg or the right leg moving forward, they're moving forward the same pair of pants, moving forward the same pair of shoes. That's how the world sees us. That's what we're wearing is how we present ourselves to the world, how we represent who we are as an individual. Our clothes, in a lot of respect, represent who we are as an individual. So the clothes of this monster that I keep talking about, that is the United States of America, also is representative of what that is, what that country is. And you're talking about whether or not it's a decent country or not. I guess it's a debate for a different question, but I guess I would just reiterate the point that no matter who is president, left president or a right-wing president, it's not going to really change much. I mean, unless you have somebody like Bernie Sanders. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a left-wing candidate, but Bernie Sanders represents a political revolution. That's, by definition, a change. So when I ran for assembly in 2016, I ran for assembly in California District 80 as a Bernie-crat and supporting that platform because I believe in that type of political revolution to fundamentally change things, not just be elected as a Democrat to replace another Democrat or elected Republican to replace a Democrat because you're not changing anything there. We need to fundamentally change things in California. And that's what my campaign is about, fundamentally changing things and changing the world, because California independence is not going to just improve the quality of life and reduce the cost of living in California. It's going to fundamentally change the history of the world, because California as a country is going to have a global platform on which we can stand up and represent California values. As the fifth largest economy in the world, we'll be in a position of strength to represent California values.
Thank you. We're going to go to a more simple question now. How popular is the idea of California as a nation in California today, in your opinion? Candidate Shior.
It's getting very popular. Although I do meet other elected officials who do not voice it publicly, but privately they have voiced their favoritism towards it. There's so many things going on at the state government, local government that we have to be aware of. Last Monday, I had a board meeting. I'm a library trustee, and I had some detailed questions about our budget, $2 million plus. and staff of about 20, small local library. The library is about the size of a CVS. And I was right about to ask some questions and getting ready and pull out my laptop. And the board president said, no laptops allowed. I was not allowed to use my laptop. I mean, think about this. I'm in a public library at a public hearing talking about $2 million of taxpayers' money. And I was ordered not to use my laptop. He's saying these are the new rules. E-communication device is not allowed. There were 2 laptops already open, one for the secretary, one for the projector. So clearly, there's some very dangerous behavior going on about censorship. And it's not benign. When government works in the dark, it compels voters and elected officials to consider Cal exit or California independence. This is not the California we grew up in. This is not the California we read about. And I will say that history may repeat itself because California for a few weeks was a country, then joined the Union back in the 1840s. So for a short period. So this is our state constitution today is our second constitution, not our first. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So it is very, very popular with the voters I talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Marinelli.
Yeah, well, first I'd like to just point out that California didn't so to speak join the Union. I would say in 1850, it was kind of conquered, and 1846, the American military occupied California, and then they amongst themselves decided to apply for statehood. So it wasn't with much input or involvement from the local population, the Californians. So I kind of disagree with Mr. Fuji there in terms of his characterization that California, peacefully, happily joined the Union as, say, maybe Ohio did. But that's a debate for another question. I think that CalExit I think there's 2 aspects to this question. The first one is whether or not it's popular. I think it's very popular. I think that if Californians knew that it was legal and peaceful and constitutional, and it could be done in those ways, then I think it'd be pretty much unanimous. Because I don't know that there are many Californians who say that, no, we need to stay in the United States, need to keep paying taxes, need to keep funding American wars, need to have our taxes go to the southern states who hate us, and so on and so forth. I think that there's a lot of support in California for people who would wish it could happen or just don't believe it can happen. I think that Mr. Fuji was talking about that maybe in private people say, yeah, it's a great idea, but they're not ready to go out there in public and support it because there's this idea that it's not legal, it's not constitutional, it might spark some kind of civil war. And so a lot of public officials may be hesitant to get behind that kind of idea because they're going to seem like an idealist and that they're trying to pursue a pipe dream or pie in the sky, something like that. But our campaign and my campaign specifically is about changing that mentality and demonstrating that it is possible. We have 2 paths in my campaign through which we can achieve California independence, both of which are legal and peaceful and constitutional. And I'll wait for the further question to describe those in more detail.
Candidate Sciorra, you were mentioned by the other candidate. You have 1 minute to respond if you choose, or we can move to the next question. Candidate Sciorra.
Yes, I will say that for career politicians, for people who've been in government a long time, California independence is not popular. The average Californian, the everyday Californian that goes to work, pays taxes, it's very popular. So just wanted to let you know that.
Okay.
And I agree. I think that if they also, in addition to supporting the idea in their minds and in private as they go to work every day, that they also express these views publicly, then that might actually start to have an effect on those long-term politicians. Because when it comes down to it, politicians are only there to, they want to be reelected. So they're going to do what the public says is popular, generally speaking. And so if there was a popular outcry for CalExit, as there was, by the way, in 2016 and 2017, before Rachel Maddow came on her opinion program and started spreading a bunch of lies about our campaign, then we would see politicians in California support CalExit. That's why they asked Gavin Newsom, for example, do you support CalExit? He doesn't. His loyalty is to the United States. They asked the mayor of Los Angeles at some point in time if he supports CalExit. He doesn't. His loyalty is the United States. We need Californians who are Californians first and who are ready to say that their loyalty is to California first. And I'm one of those candidates who's ready to say that when it comes to being an American or Californian, I'm a Californian first, and I'm prepared to take office and lead through that lens of putting California first and making my loyalty to Californians before Americans.
Candidate Shiora, a response?
I would be interested to know that if the voters unanimously, the majority of California voters voted for California independence, how soon would we have an election for the president or prime minister of a sovereign country of California? Within a year, 4 years? And would there be term limits for the California president? Thank you.
I will consider asking that question after a few more. I just want to stick to the ones of the program. If we get the time, I think that's a great one. How would you consider, run for governor, run for president? Okay, how soon? Okay, here's the next question. If CalExit passed by 51 to 52%, what would you do as a sitting governor of the world's fifth largest economy of 40 million people in the first 100 days? Be as detailed as you would prefer. First up will be candidate Shiora.
Yes, the first 100 days. That would do a lot. First and foremost, obviously, I would verbally and by writing too have a declaration of independence that Marinelli mentioned in another debate. Number two, have it issued and hand delivered to all the consulates in San Francisco and in Los Angeles and in other places where we have consulates. And to make sure to let them know that they will be seen now and be accepted as embassies, as full embassy missions, no longer consulates. Number three, I would request that they would return that courtesy and favor to have our ambassadors and embassies reopen in their countries as California embassies. Fourth, we have to make sure that you have a plan. My plan also would be to migrate local police to county police, and the county police to state police. This would help also streamline our law enforcement for the state. Also, I would grant complete citizenship upon any individual in the military, United States military, that would like to remain in the nation of California. Number five, the undocumented families and daughters and sons. This is your home. This is our home. You have a choice. You want to stay in the country of California, you may do so, as long as you take a pledge of allegiance to the nation of California. Also, number six, what's really important, we have to secure our trade. Long Beach has to be known as an international port under the authority of the sovereign country of California. Trade is important. And also open up more diplomatic missions directly with Mexico. That we would have one in Baja California, one here. So that's very important. Number six, we need a cryptocurrency that I would call Panda Bear. Number seven, what's really important, we need a constitution that's in English, Spanish. And also a string up, make better relations with Washington, D.C. We're neighbors, we're family. We're not your adversary. We're not here to fight you. We're here to live free and independent if the voters decide for California independence. And I would open up a California embassy as soon as possible in Washington, D.C. And I'll invite Washington, D.C. to do the same. Thank you.
The question is to candidate Marinelli.
Well, if I wasn't mistaken and I was watching Mr. Fuji for the first time, I might think that he was a CalExit candidate for governor. Because he certainly has a well thought out plan of things he would do for something that he doesn't necessarily advocate as a primary aspect of his campaign. So I agree with most of what he says. I don't think I can take issue with, any of it. So I guess I would do basically the same things. But I have a problem with the question because if CalExit passed by 51%, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a victory. Because it's barely a majority, and I don't think that it would be fair to make such an important decision and to act upon a vote which just passed by 51%, because you're basically telling the other 49% that they lose. And that's a pretty close vote there. And so I would say that we would have to hold another referendum at some date in the future, hopefully the near future. Just like in Scotland, for example, they failed to win independence in 2014. They're talking about another independence referendum maybe for next year. I think that we would need to have Calyx had passed at 55% or more. And that's a standard international number that represents kind of a super majority, so to speak, where nobody could doubt that it was maybe 50-50. Some elements of voter fraud, some elements of duplicate voting and so on and so forth, maybe pushed the vote one way or the other. 55% would be a threshold where you could say, well, this was clearly what the people of California decided. Even if there was some fraud, even if there was some element of bad weather that day, which kept some people from voting, or some other issues, 55% is a strong threshold. And that's been internationally accepted. For example, when Montenegro had an independence referendum back in 2006. And I believe actually more recently in Colorado, they amended their constitutional amendment process in that state to require that constitutional amendments in Colorado are passed by a 55% majority instead of just 50%. So I would want, as governor, to have an independence referendum in California that is not only passed, but passed with a clear mandate of the people of California, so that we can act on that and say that we are acting with the mandate of the people of California, and therefore it's taken legitimately and recognized internationally as legitimate independence referendum. And that would be the first step. Make sure that it's a legitimate independence referendum with a fair turnout rate. We wouldn't want to have, for example, a 30% turnout rate, 40% turnout rate. We want to have a high turnout rate just so that there's a lot of Californians that participated in the vote. And then after we have a high turnout rate, we want to have a victory with 55% or more. But those two pillars behind our independence referendum, we can go around the world and say, hey, Californians voted for independence. We had a high turnout rate. Was passed by a super majority of 55%. We are now asking for international recognition. I think we would get it. Whereas I don't think that we would necessarily get that if we passed it only 51%.
Thank you. Candidate Shore, you were mentioned by the other candidate. A minute to respond, sir.
That's a valid point. 51% could be open to discussion, debate, or doubt. And therefore, I would recommend that if Estonia, a small European country, could do internet voting for over 10 years now, why can't we, with the tech industry, with the epicenter of technology? Perhaps we could do blockchain voting on this very important topic, number one. Number two, speaking for myself, the undocumented immigrant families here that have US-born children here, I would be very inclined to allow them to have a say, to have a vote. Because like I said before, mi casa es tu casa. And I mean that with all my heart. So I think the undocumented family members, the mothers and the fathers, who aren't legal US residents or citizens, but they have US-born children here, I would want them to be part of this very important vote that they help make, because they're making California and our nation a better, richer, and more diverse place. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's another simple question, and then we're going to go to one that's a little bit tough. It's going to make people think, but just allow the candidates to express themselves the way they see fit. Here's another simple one. Straightforward. The answer is yours. Why would you be the best candidate to represent and champion this topic? Fuji Shore.
As an elected official, I often ask myself, can an elected official have two masters? The government, the bureaucracy, or the people, the voice of the people, the desires of the people? And I have proven as an elected official, I serve the people's interests. I do not serve the government in their interests. I serve the best interests of the people. If the majority of California voters voted for California independence, I will vigorously, faithfully, and thoroughly defend their vote and right to do so. So I am the candidate to represent the desire and the will of the majority of the voters of a future Republic of California. Thank you.
Candidate Marinelli.
I think that the issue of Calyx is definitely going to be a controversial one as we move forward with making it happen. And I think that the people of California need to have someone as governor who is going to be willing to ruffle feathers and rock the boat with the Americans, because it's, of course, going to be a controversial topic. But we can do it, and we can do it peacefully, and we can do it legally. And we are going to do it peacefully, and we are going to do it legally. And it's going to follow the path of established Supreme Court precedent. but it's still going to be a difficult battle. And we need to have someone who is demonstrating that they're willing to go up against the media, some on this topic, someone who's willing to go up against the American government and to criticize the American government on this topic. And I believe that as the representative of our movement, Calixit in Russia, that I've established some international relations with some people, not only here in Russia, but also in Yemen and other countries around the world through our work at the California Embassy and Culture Center. We're going to need to have international recognition. And I think that I've done a lot of work in building some relations, as we say in California, building bridges instead of walls with peoples from around the world, different countries. And it's going to be important when California becomes an independent country. Well, should I say before California becomes an independent country, to make sure we have countries out there that are willing to recognize that independence, because we are going to apply to become a member of the United Nations. That membership will go through the Security Council of the United Nations. And there are 5 countries there that could veto our admission into the UN, one of which is Russia, for example. So, people ask, for example, why do you have an embassy in Russia? Well, Russia's a UN security member, and we need to have their vote to accept California independence and recognition of that. We need to have the support of China. We need to have support of France and the UK and the United States. And that's why we need to have someone who's willing to stand up and demand that and be able to achieve that by, like I said, rocking the boat and ruffling some feathers, because we are going to have to fight for what we deserve, and that is independence. Fight in terms of it being a political battle, not, of course, some kind of physical fight on the battlefield.
Okay. Norman Ornstein is a demographer. That means someone who studies population trends. He's one of the most respected demographers in America. He recently said that around 35 to 40 states in the center of America will become older, whiter, more rural, more isolated, more Fox News watching, with fewer minorities and fewer LGBTQ people or immigrants. Essentially, what he was saying is that up to the year 2045, looking at census trends, 35 states will not have minorities. They will be majority rural, low population, very conservative, very white, and very isolated. But with their 35 states, they will be able to control everything the federal government does because of the Constitution. Some examples of this, where the people who represented the popular vote didn't get what they want, were the election of Donald Trump and George W. Bush. Both of those people did not win the popular election, but yet were selected as president because a majority of these small population states put them in there. Recently, we saw the Senate, which is equal parts blue and red, not able to pass a major voting reform act, which offended Californians. A few years ago, the Senate even refused to hear information about Brett Kavanaugh. Norman Ornstein and many progressives have said this is tyranny by the minority. A majority of the population would not have picked Trump or W. Bush. They would have passed the Voting Reform Act, and they would have listened to information by Kavanaugh. But because 35 states who do not represent the majority of the population have control, they get everything they want. Is the fact that Californians are part of that liberal progressive population that will not get the laws they want till the year 2045, is this a reason for Californians to look into Calexit, or is everything working fine at the federal level and we don't need to do any major reform? Candidate Shiora. Fuji?
I think he's speechless.
Okay, we have a tech difference. We're going to go to candidate Marinelli. We will come back to candidate Shiora. Candidate Marinelli.
Okay. Well, I think. Well, I mean, it's, if the other candidate can't hear my response, how is he going to respond to what I say? Maybe we should wait a minute. No.
Okay, we'll wait. We have a hard stop at 11. We will also be recognizing another candidate coming in a few minutes early. Hard stop at 11.
No, just give him a few seconds. I mean, he's either going to come in a few seconds or he's not going to come in at all. I don't think it's going to be an issue that's going to take too long.
We're waiting for candidate Shure to rejoin the meeting. He was just here. He has the correct link. I think that's him.
Oh,
How's it going?
good. Does this mean we need our own internet infrastructure?
Hey, I haven't talked about closing the digital divide in California. I'm not sure exactly where you're living, but there are a lot of places in California that are lacking the necessary infrastructure for broadband internet connections, and we need to close that digital divide as soon as possible.
Indeed. I say yes to this, yes to that.
The question is to both candidates. Californians are looking out to the federal government. Enshrined in the Constitution is a rule that states have a certain amount of power in selecting senators, which chooses the Supreme Court, and an electoral college votes for the presidency. Certain political experts have said this is tyranny of the minority, since a majority of the population does not get the presidents that it wants and does not get the legal actions that it wants. We've recently seen this with 2 different presidencies and 2 major votes by the Senate. Is that fair for California to be part of a country where its laws are struck down and it doesn't actually get to influence the vote, even though it has a majority of the population? Or is this a reason for Calexit? Demographers are saying this situation will not change until the year 2045, which, I am not joking, is around the time NASA has plans for a colony on a lunar base. Should we wait that long, or is this wrong? Candidate, sure.
Well, first and foremost, I have to say that the electoral system works. California with 40 million people. However, we have the most members of Congress. I don't want any New York City or Los Angeles dictating domestic policy for all the other cities. So it could equal argument. The electoral system make the balance of our federalist system, and I think it's good. I'm okay with the electoral college as is at the moment, and I believe this is why the founders created the electoral college. They didn't want one state with an overwhelming population controlling other states. So this is what I believe. Second, I don't believe it's a reason for Calexit. Calexit's other reasons that other voters are spoken to. They feel it's economic, it's immigration, it's climate. There's many other reasons why people discuss or in favor of California. The electoral college is perhaps one of them. I haven't heard it yet. But once again, California, we have the most members of Congress. So we should have minutes in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Marinelli.
Well, yes, we have the most number of seats in Congress. We just lost one under Gavin Newsom. Thank you, Mr. Newsom, for that. Unfortunately, he's not here because I did invoke his name. He won't respond to that, but he should, because under his leadership, for the first time in history, the people of California lose a seat in Congress. Why? Because of Newsom's policies and the continuation of the Democratic Party's policies, which have led to the exodus of not only taxpaying Californians, but also businesses. California businesses have left for other states. California residents have left for other states under the policies of Gavin Newsom, which he has continued after decades of Democratic rule in California. So as a result of that, one-party rule by the Democrats in Sacramento, California has lost a seat in Congress for the first time in its history, which also means we lose a seat or a vote in the Electoral College. That's less representation for California, a weaker voice for California than we already have when we need to have more representation based on our population. We should have a larger representation in Congress, but instead we are now losing representation in Congress. With that being said, to the question that you had asked, I think it's fair, sure, because California is in the country right now, and that's the way the system works. And so if you don't like that, then we need to leave the system because the system is working the way it was designed to work. That's fair, I guess. From my point of view, that's fair. If you don't like the way the system works, my campaign is offering an alternative. Let's get out of the system and create our own system. And then the Americans in the 49 other states can continue to live under the system that works for them to some extent. But it doesn't work for California. And that's what this campaign is about. The campaign for California is about getting out of that system that's broken specifically for California due to things like Mr. Fuji said, our large population. That's why it doesn't work for California, because we have 40 million people. Wyoming has 600,000 people. They have 2 senators in Wyoming for 650,000 people. We have 2 senators in California for 40 million people. There's a huge gap there, and that's why the system doesn't work for California.
We're winding down to the last few minutes. Candidate Shiora asked a question. I will now give it to both candidates, and then I will allow candidate Marinelli to propose a question if he chooses. The question from candidate Shiora to both candidates is, how long after California voted for independence should there be an election for president? We'll go to candidate Shiora.
I believe at least within one year. I believe that's really important, and that could really give voters a rightful say. So that 1 year would be sufficient to have somebody in office to do the important work of delegating and remanaging our system. Every county would become a state, for example. Also, it's important to send out our ambassadors and also our banking system. We have to have our own monetary sovereign supply. We have to have that cryptocurrency in place. So there's a lot of important issues that need to be done in the first year. So I would like to think that within the first year, there should be a presidential election for President of California. And I think that could really galvanize the people to get involved. It's something I believe, and that's my statement.
Thank you. The question to candidate Marinelli.
That's his story, and he's sticking to it. Just reminded me of a song the way he said that. So I was gonna just remember my country music. So anyway, I think that for the sake of continuity of government and for making things as smooth as possible, the transition from a state to a federal government of a nation or a country as smooth as possible, I think that the current governor, which hopefully will be me at the time, will serve out the term as governor. And then the next election would occur based on the schedule. But that election, of course, would be for the election of president instead of a governor. And perhaps, if California becomes an independent country, or should I say when California becomes an independent country during my term, there's things that can be done to amend the state constitution to change the title of governor to president. In fact, in 2016, as a candidate for state assembly, I proposed this constitutional amendment, actually, because we could actually do that now without California becoming an independent country. We could amend the state constitution to strike the word governor in all of its occurrences in the Constitution and simply replace it with the word president. And then like that, California has a president instead of a governor. And we didn't secede from the Union. We didn't become an independent country. We just have a president instead of a governor. And then imagine a world where California, one of 50 states in the Union, identical in basically every other way when it comes to its politics, has a president instead of a governor. That fundamentally changes the mindset. It fundamentally makes California different from the other states in the Union. That would be an important step, I think, in making California an independent country. We can do a lot of things as a state without seceding from the Union that will build up this profile of California is more of a country than a state. So I think that we can do that. And I think that, like I said in the beginning, to answer the question in short terms, we would want to have the next election based on its current election schedule and simply change the ballot to say president instead of governor.
Very quickly, I'm going to allow a question from candidate Marinelli that both candidates can answer. The responses need to be about 1 minute long so that there's time for closing statements. Candidate Marinelli, do you have a question that you would like both candidates to answer? You do not have to.
Well, gee, I'm kind of caught off guard there. I wasn't prepared to come with a question to ask that's, thoughtful and insightful and requires a similar kind of answer. But I guess I would say my question would be this. I don't know if I would be able to answer the question because the answer would be obvious, but is Mr. Fuji prepared to put into his platform that he is a Calexit supporter? Or because what I've heard basically is, if the people of California vote and they vote yes, and then you'll execute their demand and so on and so forth. But will you advocate for that prior to the vote? Will you go out there as governor and say, we're going to have a vote on independence, and I think you should vote yes on independence? Or would you say, I think you should vote no?
Candidate Shior.
As an elected official, I do not endorse California separating from the union. However, if there's an organization like Yes,
I think the library might be cutting him off before he can voice his opinion on the question.
No, gotcha.
well, I didn't mean to do that cow exit, but
Very dramatic. Very dramatic. Your response.
And I was saying to Marcus, I thought maybe the library was censoring your answer.
no, it's called the library.
Okay, let's cut down on that. Candidate.
The last word spoken on Monday was censorship. I kid you not. That's a different discussion, different time, but that is truth. I will obey the will of the voter. As an elected official, I do not seek out California independence. However, if there's an organization like Yes California that collects and gets a sufficient amount of majority of votes, qualified California voters, I will obey the will of the people. And also, what comes to mind when I'm asked this, what would I do, or the governor, future president would do 100 days before it becomes a country? That has often been my profound thought. And so this is something where I stand. I do not, at the moment, endorse California independence as an elected official. However, many California voters have shared their passion and preference for a California exit. And because of that, it's my due diligence, my responsibility to prepare for that eventuality if it so happens. And California independence is not a moonshot. I understand that. I'm born here. I'm a San Diegan. I get it. And I truly believe that all elected officials should have courtesy and due diligence to talk about this in public, on record. That's all I'm doing. So I invite other elected officials to come to this debate with West California and inquire and answer these difficult questions. That's what we're here to do. So I will always support the will of the people for California independence or not. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to closing statements because we're up against the clock. I'm going to shorten the closing statements from 2 minutes.
I don't get to answer my own question.
You guys are eating into your closing statements, so we can do that, and we can make the closing statements 1 minute long.
I have a great answer.
Candidate Marinelli, closing statements will be 1 minute long after this question. Candidate Marinelli.
Well, the answer is yes, I would advocate for California independence. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, let's go to closing statements. Minute and a half. It's got to be a hard minute and a half. Candidate Shior, closing statement.
First and foremost, as an elected official in the state of California, I'm very grateful for the organization Yes California hosting this important debate that many California voters from all backgrounds, all political stripes, and everywhere else in this state are talking about, share their concern about California independence. And I think it's incumbent on all candidates and all elected officials to bring this up in a debate and to talk about it for or against. And it's important now more than ever to have a vigorous and civil discussion on California independence. As a native Californian, I'm here to listen and learn. And I encourage all listeners and voters to get involved, to be in the debate, because now is the time for yes or no California independence. I'm very thankful to Louis Marinelli and Marcus Ruiz Evans making this happen. Definitely, this is a historical moment because of the voters and because of Californians like you watching. Very thankful. Thank you.
Thank you. Short time, up against the hard deadline, minute and a half. Candidate Marinelli.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Mr. Fuji, for attending this debate discussion. I like to call it more of a discussion because we generally see eye to eye on many topics, and we can do so in a civil way, which is also, I think, a rare fact in our day and age. So I appreciate the ability to have a civil and friendly conversation with a quote-unquote opponent in an election. That being said, my name is Louis Marinelli. I am the candidate for California independence running on the ballot this year in the recall election to replace Governor Gavin Newsom. We need a governor who's going to govern California through the lens of not only protecting civil rights, which of course are very important, but we also need to have a governor who's going to protect civil liberties. And that's my philosophy, is that civil liberties are just as important as civil rights. And as governor, I will not govern the state in such a way where we violate civil liberties any more than we would violate civil rights. And I think that Governor Newsom has done that himself, where he's violated our civil liberties with his lockdowns. I think we should actually trademark the term the Newsom lockdowns. I think we should trademark the term the Newsom mask mandates, because I think that both of those are areas where he has violated people's civil liberties. And personally, I don't believe in giving up liberty for the sake of security. So calix@governor.com, find out more information about my candidacy for governor.
Thank you. That ends our debate between candidate Fuji Shiora and candidate Louis Marinelli. I will ask candidate Shiora to leave now. Thank you for coming out. Candidate Nicholas Wildstar will be here in a moment. We will be starting the debate between candidate Marinelli and candidate Nicholas Wildstar at 12 o'clock. Let me get that ready.
I'm going to step aside for a minute.
Sure. I'm going to do a commercial to show a difference between the two debates as we wait for both candidates to join.
It's the California Recall Debate, hosted by Yes California.
Pleased to have Broadway actor of 30 years fame creating a little slogan and commercial for Yes California for the Recall Debates. We are going to go live. We are already live right now. We will be starting in 2 minutes. Pardon me, I need a quick break between the debates. Starting in 2 minutes live, candidates Nicholas Wildstar and Louis Marinelli on the topic of Cal Brexit. I will go over the format of the debate in 2 minutes. I just need 2 minutes for a break. I will be right back. Before we do that, sound check. Nicholas Wildstar, can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Candidate Marinelli, can you hear candidate Wildstar?
I can.
Candidate Wildstar, can you hear candidate Marinelli?
I sure can.
Okay, 2 minutes and we'll get started. I'll be right back. Thank you. We will get started in just a minute. Both candidates are here. We've already done a sound check. We will start shortly. Okay. Candidate Wildstar? Nicholas Wildstar? Okay. And everybody can hear each other? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to the second panel on one-on-one debates. Yes, California has hosted multiple, now up to 7 sessions of recall candidate debates. Every candidate, about half of the declared candidates in the 2021 recall election have been in contact with us for the debates. All candidates have been made the offer that they can challenge any other candidate who've been in the debates to one-on-one debates about any topic. Candidates Marinelli and Wildstar agreed to have a one-on-one debate on the topic of CalExit. They agreed to have a little bit different of a debate format. So the way that it's going to go is a 2-minute introduction per candidate, then 3 questions designed by the candidate that will be directed directly to the other candidate. As moderator, I will not be asking questions. That's going to be slightly different for you watching at home on this video. So 2-minute opening statement, that's standard. Then 3 questions per candidate to the other candidate. That candidate, when asked that question, has 2 minutes to respond. After a 2-minute response, there will be up to a 5-minute back and forth. So, candidate 1, let me get the screen here. Candidate 1 asks a question of the other candidate. This candidate has 2 minutes to respond, and then they go back and forth for about 5 minutes until we go to the next question from the opposing candidate back to them. You'll see it as it makes sense. My job mostly is going to be moderator and timekeeper. I will now refer to both candidates to do their opening statements. Let's go to candidate Nicholas Wildstar with a 2-minute opening statement. Candidate Wildstar.
Is it okay to let candidate Marinelli go first, since I did challenge him to this debate? I think it's only fair that he gets to go first tonight, I guess.
Candidate Marinelli, do you agree to that term?
I don't think it matters. I'll go first. I'll go second.
Candidate Marinelli, 2-minute opening statement.
My name is Louis Marinelli. I'm the CalExit candidate for governor in this election, the recall election of Gavin Newsom. I'm running on a very simple plan, a very simple promise. That is to advocate for California independence and to use the office of the governorship to make California an independent country. There are ways that we can do that peacefully and legally. There's existing Supreme Court precedent setting the path forward for it to be done in adherence with the American Constitution. So we will not be sparking a civil war. We will be sparking a political revolution, which leads to California becoming an independent country. The reasons for this are many, but they boil down to 2 basic points. 1, we are going to reduce the cost of living in California. And 2, we are going to increase the quality of life in California for everybody. And throughout the course of this debate, I'm sure that I'll have the opportunity to explain how we're going to achieve those 2 goals in more detail. But if you're interested in my candidacy, if you're interested in California independence, CalExit, making it a reality, you can visit my website, calexitgovernor.com. My name is Louis Marinelli. I'm the co-founder of the California Independence Movement, the first president of the Yes California Independence Campaign, the founding chairman of the California National Party, and the current representative of the CalExit movement in Moscow, Russia, where we have an embassy and culture center where we represent California values abroad and represent the interests of Californians abroad. CalExitGovernor.com.
Thank you. Candidate Wildstar. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me check. Hold on.
Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Yes. Candidate Wildstar, 2-minute opening statement.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Wildstar, and I've been a very involved community activist that's been out there in the streets fighting for we the people for over a decade. Whether it's to hold government officials accountable or speaking out against media censorship or making meals for the homeless, I've been there consistently to make an effort to improve all of our lives. I'm a hardworking, tax-paying husband and father that wants to see every family in California live just as well as mine, if not better. I've made multiple attempts to serve the people in our state as governor city councilman, and mayor. And although I have yet to win an election, that hasn't stopped me from responding to the call to action from we the people for better leadership. Speaking to thousands of voters face to face for the past 10 years, I'm well aware of the solutions being demanded to solve the problems in our state, and will be sharing some of those ideas with you here today. You'll also hear my opponent speak about how he plans to declare California its own independent country and separate from the United States on his first day in office, which, from what I've been told, is definitely not what Californians want, especially when the fear that someone such as Gavin Newsom could possibly come to power again in the future, only instead of being the governor, he'd be the president. Our federal government has caused much trouble for California by taking action against our state laws or by taking our tax dollars and wastefully spending them. But any Cal-Exit secession needs to be the last option, not the first. Unlike my opponent, my priority is to deal with what's going on in our own backyard first, which is a drastic effort in itself. That's the biggest difference you'll see between the two of us, and why I hope you'll vote yes to recall Gavin Newsom and elect Wildstar for governor. Thank you.
Thank you both. We're going to go to the first question. Is there a preference on who gets to ask who which question first? Otherwise, I'm going to go to Governor Wildstar candidate to ask the first question of candidate Marinelli.
Again, candidate Marinelli is welcome to go first if you'd like.
Candidate Marinelli, would you like to ask the first question?
Again, I don't care who goes first or who goes second. I mean, if it's a matter of who's answering first or who's asking first, I mean, whatever Mr. Wildstar wants to do.
Just to get things going, candidate Marinelli, your first question directed to candidate Wildstar. Candidate Marinelli, your first question directed to candidate Wildstar.
Okay. We're both running for governor in this election, and governing the state is a very difficult endeavor. And you've made statements in the past, and I'd like to clarify what you mean by some of them. The biggest function of state government is healthcare. Over 14 million people, a third of California residents, are enrolled into and rely on Medi-Cal, our state healthcare program for low-income Californians. Meanwhile, you generally can't get a tax refund larger in value than the amount of taxes you had withheld throughout the year unless you qualify for a refundable tax credit, such as the California Earned Income Tax Credit, which incentivizes work, but without which many more California children would be in poverty and even deep poverty. You're on the record of calling for the end of state taxes. What would you say to the 14 million Californians who would lose their Medi-Cal benefits and the 1.5 million California households that rely on the Earned Income Tax Credit but would lose it and fall into poverty if you have your way with state taxes?
I would say to any of those that fear that they may be losing any money because me getting rid of taxes, that they're well misinformed. Because with me canceling taxes and suspending them, now they're able to keep more money in their pocket and be able to afford better health care themselves. As far as the system that exists itself is based on debt. I mean, we have a service-based economy, and my idea is to shift California to become an independent state by becoming a resource-based economy. That way we actually have money that is worth something instead of the fiat currency we have now that's being devalued through inflation. So your money is valueless at this time. I want to empower the people of California by increasing their buying power, and that in itself will be able to make healthcare more affordable. Now, to those that are on Medicare and receiving healthcare benefits, you have no need to worry, because the state of California will continue to be able to take care of you, only instead of taxpayers footing the bill for that. My goal is to shift to a non-taxpayer revenue generated system for the government. That way we're making that money to pay the government's bills instead of that money coming from taxpayers. The government already does that right now through licensing and ticketing. I want to make it a negative impact by leasing naming rights to some of our state highways even. So that would provide the opportunity to have some of our state highways and roads be well maintenance, while at the same time generating revenue for the state that's not for taxpayers. So our healthcare system is broken in itself. Tons of people that are receiving Medicare benefits, and as well, of course, digging us deeper into debt for that.
Thank you. You have both asked for an additional 5 minutes back and forth. I'm going to put the clock in. This is the 5 minutes back and forth time that both candidates agreed to on that response.
Do I get to start with the rebuttal?
It's whatever you guys want.
Okay.
5 minutes back.
Okay. I guess since he just provided his answer, I mean, I'll respond to a couple points. I think that it's interesting to have the idea of, leasing out naming rights to highways. I just hope we don't have Interstate 5 or 410 become the Donald Trump Highway, something like that. We'll have the Trump Highway running through California because they'll pay for it. Okay, so we're talking about
to do so. Then what's the worry there? I mean, it's a way for the people of California to make some money, have our roads taken care of. Taxpayers aren't paying for it, so if anything, it's a double benefit. Now, if Trump wants to pay the bills, let him. You know what I'm saying? We'll take your money. You're not running California, and you're definitely not a representative of the people of California. That's what I would be as governor, and I think the people of California would be more prosperous because of that position.
Well, I understand what you're trying to get at there, but we're talking about a time and age in California where we're renaming schools and taking down monuments because people care about what the names represent. And I think that, we're talking about, certain names of high schools and elementary schools being changed because people are concerned about what those people represented in the past is a big issue in California, as well as talking about, Donald Trump. I mean, people in California, majority of which don't appreciate what he represents. So I don't think they would like the fact that Donald Trump would have possibly his name on the highway that runs through California. But that's a side issue. My bigger question would be more towards the earned income tax credit, because you said you want to get rid of taxes, and people as a result of that are going to be able to keep more of their own taxes in their pocket, which of course makes sense. But the people that receive the earned income tax credit actually get more tax refund than they paid into taxes. So they're going to be losing $2,000-$3,000 a year based on how many children they have if you get rid of state taxes, because this is a situation where people pay into federal or pay their state taxes, they get a refund, but they also get this credit, which gives them even larger refund than they paid in state taxes. So inevitably, they're going to be losing up to $3,000 if they have a family of 3.
Well, again, with our Federal Reserve currency, the Federal Reserve note, the IRS, it all has never been audited. We, the people, have been paying and been taxed this entire time. There has never been an audit of the Federal Reserve since it's been in existence. That's what I will be doing as governor of the state. I will be auditing our Federal Reserve here in the state, as well as the IRS, the State Franchise Tax Board. Make sure the people of California are being taxed what they should be. And if anything, if they're being overtaxed and have paid that off. Now, since there hasn't been proper auditing done, that's what I'm planning on doing. My first day in office, a transparent public audit that will be done in real time by people of the community, so they can actually see where their money is going. Now, with regards to naming rights of our highways, that's something that I would have executive choice to do in closing that business deal. There's people that don't like Tesla because of Elon Musk. There's people that don't like Google and Amazon, because of Jeff Bezos. But if those people decided to cough up money, then that's great for the people of California. And that'll be year to year. So if they don't like it one year, the next year we can pick a new service provider. Now, as far as schools, institutions that people of the community, parents have authority over, naming rights, then yes, leave that up to the parents in those schools locally.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning that the people locally would be changing the school names to the highest bidder, but I was talking about in our society, it's become important for Californians to remove from the names of our public institutions, such as schools, and also I would say a highway in that same ballpark, the names of people that don't represent California values. And I'm afraid that not so much that you wouldn't be able to get Jeff Bezos, for example, to want to name a highway after himself. But what happens in the years when he says, I don't want to do it anymore? All of a sudden, you're scrambling, looking for someone to replace it, and that's losing your source of income. If Mr. Bezos or Mr. Trump is even willing to pay enough for that highway, that would completely replace the tax revenue that would be lost because you get rid of state taxes. So how much do you think you're going to be able to charge to rename a highway in somebody's name? How much revenue do you think is coming in from that?
I think as much money as we can get. I'm pretty sure some of these businesses would be happy to pay $100 million so they can advertise on a highway that's frequently used by millions of people each year and has worldwide recognition. That's invaluable marketing.
That is the 5-minute period. We will now go to the next question from candidate Wildstar directed to Marinelli. Question from candidate Wildstar to candidate Marinelli.
All right. As a former U.S. California Congress member, which you also are a part of, I made it known that I was a candidate running for governor. Even while I collected signatures to recall Newsom for months, I also collected signatures for the CalExit petition and even introduced the very idea of Yes California hosting these debates, with you not even being in the first one because you weren't a candidate then. After having me be involved with Yes California for nearly a year, seeing my efforts to promote your organization and even saying how you yourself would vote for me, why would you choose to run for governor a month ago and not put your support behind my campaign instead?
Candidate Marinelli, 2 minutes.
Well, because on your website, you have a whole page listed of a bunch of pledges that I don't agree with. I mean, when I'm talking with you in the CalExit Congress and hearing some of the things that you've said, including your pre-prepared statement that you read this afternoon from your computer screen, you sound great. You have a lot of charisma. You have some ideas that I agree with. I don't disagree with you on every point. But when you go and redo your research into things that you believe and you start asking yourself questions about how you're going to achieve it, like this tax issue, for example, you want to get rid of state taxes, how are you going to pay for the public services that people in California depend upon? And you're going to provide some abstract ideas about how we're going to replace those services. But these are life and death issues for many Californians. And I think that to go out there and say, for example, well, we're going to get rid of state taxes, we're going to replace them with these abstract ideas of leasing the name rights to highways or something like that, that's putting people's lives in danger. And also, I would point out on a larger scale, because I'm the CalExit candidate for governor, my number one issue is CalExit. You've been generally, favorable towards the issue of California independence in the abstract. But as you said today, you don't believe that that's the number one priority. That's not what you want to achieve. You want to achieve it as a last resort. Well, I've already come, and I think that many Californians have already come to the realization that there is no way to repair the broken system under which we live in the United States, and that it is time for CalExit now. You have helped collect signatures. Yes. You've been involved in our campaign. Yes. You've helped promote our campaign to some extent, but it's not your number one issue. And we need a campaign and a candidate for governor whose number one issue is making California an independent country. And when I saw that there wasn't that, then I stood up to say, okay, as the founder of the California independence movement, as the first president of the Yes California campaign, as the founding chairman of the California National Party, I'm going to fill in that emptiness because we need a candidate who's going to say it's time for CalExit now.
All right. Are we starting at 5 minutes now?
5 minutes starts now.
All right. So that answer that you just provided right there shows exactly how far removed from the people of California you are. Because with me being here, the boots on the ground, the face-to-face actual candidate that's talking to them about your CalExit petition to separate the United States of America or California from the United States of America, I had tons of pushback. And I'm pretty sure your Yes California president, Marcus Ruiz Evans, can back up that statement. In talking to those people, there was lots of resentment against that idea for the simple fact that of what I said. Somebody such as Gavin Newsom could become president of California, and then we're even in a worse situation than we are now. With you being in Russia and not even talking to these people, not even gathering signatures for your own petition, of course, you wouldn't even know that. But with you being so far away and having this sole idea that, of course, this is what the people of California want, is to have an independent nation, you're again imposing that idea upon a unwilling and resistant constituency. So you're going to have a lot of pushback on that idea yourself, just so you know that. But with me again, talking to people, I've been able to build that rapport, understand them more, and find out what the real issues are. And yes, even though I do my best to present myself in the best manner fashionable by making sure I say the right words, by preparing a statement as I provided now, I'm good off the cuff also. Not everybody wants a well scripted candidate such as yourself to feel like they need to step
Well, if you're
up.
the one reading a script, how am I the scripted candidate? What are you talking about?
What's that?
I said, if you're the one reading off your screen, how do I become the scripted candidate of the two of us? I'm
All
reading.
of what we're talking about right now is
heart
not
about things that I
scripted at all.
believe in. I'm not reading from my screen about pre-prepared statements, and then you're calling me the scripted candidate. It's kind of a
A
backwards.
2-minute opening statement is not scripted, opposed to somebody that sits around reading stats and reports and all of what they feel like the people of California needs to be told in order to scare them into voting for them.
Well, hey, let me answer some of the things that you're talking about.
It's all
You were talking about traveling around, and collecting signatures for CalExit and getting a lot of pushback. Yeah, sure there is. That's not a unanimous vote. The people are not going to unanimously support CalExit. And as I understand,
What would
you've
make you think
been
is
signatures for
governor?
CalExit and talking about
What
the
would make
news
you think
recall
is
in
governor
Fresno County and the Central Valley. And there are, if you
What would
travel
make you
around,
think is governor declaring that on your first day would make the people of California happy versus making sure that the people that are hungry in this state
let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. Because as I traveled around this state in 2014, 2015,
4 years
2016,
ago.
before I came to Russia as the representative of our campaign, where I'm building relationships with people, we traveled in San Diego, in the Los Angeles area, Sacramento, the Bay Area. The people where the populations are of California are largely supportive of CalExit and California independence. Now, they may not be so supportive in the Central Valley. There's a different political ideology there where you are now. You're Republican, the Central Valley is Republican, conservative. There's a lot of people that are very patriotic, support America, etc. And that's fine. That's what they believe. So, of course, you're surrounded by American patriots where you are talking to people about CalExit. Of course, you're going to find pushback there. We found pushback there ourselves, and we're going to Marcus and going to in Sacramento and so on and so forth. I've been everywhere in the state talking about CalExit. But if you go to the big population centers, Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Long Beach, these are
Where
the places
I've been.
we've set our tents. We've talked to Californians, and they support the idea of CalExit.
I've been all the way up Northern California.
But if it was possible, they would support it. That's
I've been in the CalExit territories. I've been in Jefferson State, where you have tons of people pushing to create Jefferson State its own state, and they still don't support
another
that.
rural area of California. Patriots of American patriots.
My point is to say that someone such as yourself is ingenuine in wanting to step up to be a representative for the people last minute. They just see this as being another opportunity to throw their names in the ring and, advance their celebrity, or better yet, in your case, your message and your cause for CalExit. And that's not what the people of California want, even in areas where you think they'd be receptive of it, because the few that speak up are not the majority.
Thank you. Okay, the next question will be from candidate Marinelli to candidate Wildstar. Candidate Marinelli, directed question second one to candidate Wildstar.
Sure. A business license is a government document that certifies a business is safe for the public. In this way, when someone wants to open a restaurant, he or she must comply with local food safety codes and open their kitchen to a health inspector. It gives the public some assurance that it's a safe place to eat. Meanwhile, doctors obtain licenses to practice medicine once they've been tested and to demonstrate that they have attained a certain minimal degree of competency to provide medical services. It allows, again, the public to feel safe that they can visit a doctor and know that the doctor is a qualified medical professional. You are on the record pledging on your website to end these types of occupational licenses and as well end business licenses in California. So the question is, how will you ensure the public that it is safe to dine at restaurants or visit barbershops and tattoo parlors which haven't been inspected and haven't been licensed, or that their local doctor is a legitimate medical expert and not just someone whose medical knowledge is limited to old wives' tales and Wikipedia?
All right. Am I responding now?
To candidate Wildstar. 2 minutes to candidate Wildstar.
All right. Well, the first thing about getting rid of those occupational licenses for the people out there is that means more jobs, period. And that's exactly what the people of California want and need right now in speaking with them. They don't want to have to obtain an occupational license to cut somebody's hair or cut somebody's grass or their trees. It's ridiculous that government has codified our right to work. That's exactly what licensure or business licensure is. And for anybody that's worried and thinking that any type of business license provides some type of security for a business is also under a false misconception, because there's tons of businesses that have been validated and have business licenses that are awful. The best way to find out if a business is going to be successful is consumers, people, customers coming back and bringing their business back to that business. That's
If
what
you're alive, you're talking about customers.
uninterrupted.
Sorry. To keep the rules fair, the candidate is allowed to respond to the question uninterrupted. Please be quiet, and we'll let. So I'm sorry. These are the rules you both asked me to.
I just don't have a timer. I don't have a timer. We need to have a timer on the screen.
I will announce when the 5 minutes start. I am in charge of the
You have
time.
a timer, just like you should have a prepared speech.
Right. Thank you both. I will be in charge of the time. I will enforce the rules that both of you asked me to do. Nicholas Wildstar, you have an additional minute to finish your statement uninterrupted.
All right. As I was saying, in speaking with the people of, he made me lose my train of thought, man. I even lost the damn question.
We will start over.
You're the governor, if you can't keep your mind on the same topic.
Lewis, I need you to not interrupt, please, when he's answering the question. These are the rules that you both forced me to go to.
I'm not interrupting. He just interrupted himself.
All right, we're going to start over. A 2-minute answer by candidate Nicholas Wildstar to the question by candidate Marinelli. 2 minutes to candidate Wildstar.
All right. As I was saying, with regards to occupational licenses, getting rid of them would mean more jobs, improving the economy of the state of California. And that's exactly what's needed right now, especially since Gavin Newsom has caused millions of people to be out of work, unemployed, even before the pandemic panic began by signing AB 5, which is what I will nullify on my first day as governor of California. I think that's exactly what the people of California want. And when it comes to business security, as I was saying before, since I recall now, was the best way for any type of business to provide any assurance to any potential customers is that they are upstanding in the community and their reputation. If they have a bad reputation, like some major corporations even have, they still stay in business for some reason. Why? Same reason why you can go get gas at a business and right across the street, they'll have another gas station for $1 cheaper or $1 more, and there will be other people buying that. We shouldn't be preventing more free market opportunities in California, and that's what I will not be doing as governor. Myself, as well as my wife, we've traveled abroad and went to Mexico to have dental work done simply because it was more affordable. Why? Because in a place like Mexico, where people would think you need to be afraid of any type of, businesses, there's competition. And what that creates is more affordable opportunities for people to get services. So that's exactly what I'll be doing as governor, providing more free market opportunities by getting rid of the regulation and licensing. It's crippled our economy.
This will now start the 5 minutes back and forth. 5 minutes back and forth starting now.
You're telling people they need to go to restaurants and get sick and die, and then through that method, the restaurants will lose its reputation with the community. That's ridiculous. It's a form of Darwinism. You want to get rid of business licenses, which tell people it's safe to eat at a restaurant because it's been inspected by health inspectors. And instead of doing that, they're just going to rely on their community standing. Well, how do they build that community standing? They build that community standing by having their customers come and eat there and dine there. And by your standard, if they get sick and die, they're going to be able to, I guess, leave some feedback somewhere on Yelp and say, hey, I went to this restaurant and I died. Don't go there. No, we need to have health inspectors.
That's absurd,
and those
man.
type of policies are going to put people's lives in danger, and you can't be governor if you're going to be putting people's lives in danger. It's as simple as that.
Well, you would be by declaring California its own independent country on day one, because that would possibly create a civil war among the people in California. You're not even considering that concept. But when it comes to somebody going to a restaurant, that's exactly why Yelp exists. It's because if you go to eat there and that restaurant sucks, or you eat something that makes you sick, you leave a review.
You eat something and die, you come back and leave a Yelp review.
I'm not done. Now, if they're
beyond the 2 minute interruption, Mr. Wildstar. If you want to be governor, you need to be prepared for people to interrupt you.
If they were dead,
obviously you're not able to do that because your policies are radical and crazy, and they're going to put people's lives in danger. And as a candidate for governor, I feel responsible to stand up for the people that you are going to kill by allowing businesses and restaurants to operate in the state of California without health inspections.
Just so the people out there know, when we agreed to this debate, I did provide a list of rules. I wanted to have a formal back and forth exchange with a minute being provided each. Candidate Marinelli insisted on us having 5 minutes of an uninterrupted back and forth battle because he likes being argumentative, as you can see. He likes being—
because I like when candidates stand up and speak what they really believe instead of reading pre-prepared statements that they've been repeating day after day for years, looking at the mirror at themselves, repeating the same statements at the mirror. You need to be able to stand up and defend your policies and not just read statements you've prepared. You need to be able to defend why your policies are okay if you're going to kill Californians who go to restaurants who haven't been inspected and they die from E. coli or some other issue.
Why would you care? You're in Russia anyway. Why would you care? You're in Russia anyway.
I'm a Californian. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a California voter. I'm a California taxpayer.
You go out to restaurants and businesses and you use your money to support Russia. Not Americans, not Californians, not the people here that could use that support. Where I am, what I'm doing to help build up the community. I go out there, my wife and I, we prepare meals to go out there and feed the community. We go out there and we clean up trash in our backyard or in the local park. We are the ones going out there collecting signatures to recall Gavin Newsom, our tyrant dictator of an authoritative governor, to get rid of him, where you have done none of the above. What's your excuse? Like you said, the last time you've been in California was 2014. A lot has changed since then.
That's not true. I said I started the campaign for California independence in 2014, and we traveled around the state of California in 2014, 2015, 2016. So it wasn't when I left California, it was in 2014. It was when I started the California independence campaign. And I left California to go live in Russia. Here we opened an embassy, so I'm representing California values abroad. You do things at home. We're both Californians. We both obviously care deeply about the issues that are important to the people of California. We have a different point of view. You, however, have policies that are going to literally kill people, and I feel emotionally obligated to stand up and say that's ridiculous because we have to have health inspections in hospitals. We can't allow barbers who have to vote for me because my campaign platform has been up. I decided to run for governor last year and announced it. I was one of the first candidates to announce my candidacy, opposed to where you stood by and watched it happen. And as I said, all of my policies have been there since day one. The race to declare governor makes one the best candidate. The first one to declare candidacy for governor makes one the best candidate.
2022, as well as get my butt out there.
And I think you ran for governor in 2014
and said I will get rid of Gavin Newsom and replace him myself. That's why I've been out there.
You're a registered candidate in 2021 recall election. You're also registered in 2022. I think you're probably registered in 2026. Do you actually ever think you're going to win, or are you just going to keep running every year?
Well, as you should tell your children, I hope is to try again if at first don't succeed. If not,
you need to be fully invested. You need to be fully invested in the election at hand.
I'm sorry. My one job is to make sure that I keep to the time, to the format that you both insisted on having. That was the 5 minutes. We will now go to the second question from candidate Wildstar to candidate Marinelli. I will unmute you both. Candidate Wildstar, your second question to candidate Marinelli.
As you stated, currently you live in Russia and have been even before the pandemic panic began. So you being there is by choice and not because you're stranded there, like many Californians living abroad. You've been suspected of being a Russian spy and plotting to destroy California by pushing to separate it from the United States. Not to mention the obvious, which is you being even more far removed than Gavin Newsom from the day-to-day problems the people of California are dealing with. With all of the distance between you and the people here in the state where I am now, how do you plan on convincing voters to support you, to represent them, when you're not even able to do that right now?
You are unmuted, candidate Marinelli, for 2 minutes.
2 uninterrupted minutes. When I lose my train of thought midway, I'll get another 2 minutes. So here's the point. Yes, I'm in Russia. I have nothing to hide. I've been talking about it for years. If I was some big Russian spy, it'd be a secret. I wouldn't be telling everybody every time. I mentioned in the beginning opening statement, I'm in Russia. I got nothing to hide. I'm a kindergarten teacher. If the people of California are afraid of a kindergarten teacher, then that's something I can't fix. I'm a kindergarten teacher in Russia. I'm the leader of the California Independence Movement's representation in Russia, where we have an exhibit on California values abroad. In fact, that's what the word abroad means. You keep talking about Mexico as abroad. I don't think that qualifies as going abroad, but that's another question. We have an exhibit here in Moscow where we represent California values, where we stand up for Californians. For example, Trevor Reed, an American, has been detained in Russia since December of 2019. Through our office, we sent in a request to the Russian Foreign Ministry to release Trevor Reed. And that process, I think, is underway. We'll see, I think, Trevor Reed, his case being solved in the next year, hopefully, whereas he's been sentenced to 9 years in prison here in Russia. So, yeah, you live in California right now, and you go feed the hungry and pick up the garbage. That's great. It's commendable. I don't have a problem with that. But you, on the other hand, turn around and say, because I'm not out there picking up the garbage with you, and I'm not out there feeding the hungry with you, that I'm doing a different mission to promote California values abroad is not worthy, then that's just a ridiculous attack with no basis.
We will now start the 5-minute back and forth. 5-minute back and forth starts now.
All right. Well, first of all, with regards to me losing my train of thought and getting an extra 2 minutes, that was because you interrupted me. And like you see, I was able to respect your 2 minutes by allowing you to speak freely. But with regards to you being in Russia and being a teacher, there were also Russian spies that were, teachers, as well as prostitutes and many other seamless, I guess, less threatening positions other than coming out and saying, well, I'm a Russian spy, I don't think you'd be open to just saying that admittedly, but I'm not suspecting you of being a Russian spy. I said you have been suspected of being a Russian spy. And of course, Californians are going to consider that when it comes to voting for you, as well as you living in Russia and living abroad, whether it be in Russia or outside of America's borders, which Mexico and Canada would be. So you could be a Californian living in one of those territories and still be doing as you're doing and attempt to represent the people of California. But with you being, again, having such a far distance between you and the day-to-day problems that the people of California are dealing with, I don't see how you would be able to convince them of, setting aside those concerns to vote for you, especially
I think that they can be. I think that I could reach out to the voters of California and talk to them about this platform and talk to them about fundamentally changing the future of California. Because one area where you and I agree on is that Gavin Newsom needs to go because of the type of leadership that he has. And what you're offering is just another basically far-right conservative talking point platform. You want to get rid of gun regulations, you want to get rid of taxes, you want to do this, you want to do that. Those are things that other people have promised and fought for in the past. I mean, maybe not to the extent that you are, because you're talking about
deliver. That's the difference between me and them. I'm a deliver.
Getting rid of all gun regulations and so on and so forth.
Because
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a fundamentally different future for California as an independent country. There are a large part of California that support that campaign. There are even more who are unsure about it, and my campaign is about educating the voters.
And I do my best to educate voters too by telling them that all gun control laws are racist, like the Mulford Act, which prevents open carry in the state of California simply because the Black Panthers marched on the state capitol. That didn't happen because Proud Boys marched on the capitol and, had open carry with guns. It happened because Black people did it. And all gun laws happen because Black people are being...
You're talking about this whole time about how far I am detached from the people of California. Well, I guarantee you that the people of California don't support the idea of getting rid of all gun regulations.
Well, you wouldn't know that.
That demonstrates how far detached you are, Mr. Wildstar, with the people of California. The fact that you want to get rid of Medi-Cal, the fact that you want to get rid of Cal Fire.
I was just at the Fresno Gun Show, and I spoke
Tell me the population of California that supports getting rid of Cal Fire.
I spoke with hundreds of people over 2 days, and trust me, each and every person that came up to my table, as reluctant as they may seem against the idea, they did understand that every person deserves the God-given right, inalienable right, human right to protect themselves. It's a self-defense issue when it comes down.
We both agree on the Second Amendment, although I do believe that some regulations need to be in place. I believe background checks need to be in place.
Why are you arguing?
You're talking about how far I am detached from the people of California. You want to get rid of the EDD. You want to get rid of state taxes. You want to get rid of Medi-Cal. You want to get rid of Cal Fire. You want to get rid of all these state agencies that millions of Californians depend upon. And yet I'm the one who's detached from what the needs of the people of California are. The people of California need their EDD. The people of California California need all the public benefits and services that we provide through state income taxes that you want to get rid of and replace with Donald Trump International Highway or something of that nature.
And that's absurd. For you to continue to want to dig the people of California deeper into debt by inflating our currency, continuing that borrowing spending trend with our centralized banking system, the Federal Reserve, which is no more federal than a Federal Express. So you want to keep centralized banking, that privatized banking control over our currency, which puts...
That's not true. I support a public bank for California.
Then in which case you need to vote Wildstar for governor, because under my golden...
You're not the only candidate. I learned about the public banking from the Green Party.
Appreciate it. So we are now going to go to the third question. The third question will come from candidate Marinelli to candidate Wildstar. Third question, candidate Marinelli, directed to the other candidate. Candidate Marinelli, your question.
Am I unmuted, or I keep getting silenced and censored by the moderator?
I do that in order to keep time.
Well, nobody asked you to do that, and there wasn't in the rules that nobody's debates, their mics are going to get muted. If Mr. Wildstar can't handle the debate, needs to have you help him and mute the microphone, then that's a different issue. Third question. Here we go. Third question. California's disability insurance program provides benefits for employees' own illness and injury, and our state's paid family leave program provides benefits for employees to take care of a seriously ill family member or to bond with a newborn child. You're a father. I'm a father. Most recent data shows that nearly 300,000 Californians relied on paid family leave in 2019, a number which has grown from 195,000 in 2011, while over 600,000 Californians annually rely on the disability insurance program. You're on record pledging on your website to end the EDD, California's Employment Development Department, which you describe as wasteful spending. What would you say to the hundreds of thousands of Californians who rely on our paid family leave and disability insurance programs that they will lose if you have your way?
Candidate Wildstar, 2 minutes to respond. Candidate Nicholas Wildstar.
All right. Well, getting rid of the EDD is a no-brainer. I mean, over the past year alone, they've squandered $11 billion with the B people, $11 billion fraudulently. And a great majority of those people were involved in the EDD and our state officials. So they've been taking our money to supposedly help us. The EDD is supposed to provide unemployment benefits to those people that have been laid off work. Why is your employer not allowed, keyword allowed, to provide that as a benefit to employees? I'd rather that be the position and the offering of that benefit instead of it being a public service. So to anybody that's dependent upon the government in order to sustain their livelihood, I have terrible news for you. You need to stop being dependent on the government, because if you're reliant upon me and my family providing a source of income for yours, then that's a bad relationship. I never agreed to that. I don't think any of the people of California agreed to it. And if they were given the opportunity to vote on if they wanted that to be the fact of the matter or not, I'm pretty sure they would vote against it. And that's what I want to do. Provide the people of California with more options, which is why I will be shifting to a voluntary tax paying system where if you want to pay taxes, sure, go ahead, pay however much you want. You're going to pick and choose how much money and you want to give, where that money is going to be going. And it's going to be done on a local level. It's not going to be done on a state level, because that's the problem. It's too much big government instead of small, localized, controlled government where you, the people, have a say in what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now start the 5-minute back and forth. We are now starting the 5-minute back and forth.
Well, I think that while you're at it, you're letting people choose if they're going to pay taxes and what they're going to spend the taxes on. Why don't we just have a state garage sale in front of the Capitol, too? Be another source of income for the state to pay for these services for the people of California.
Probably. I may sell some of the furniture in the governor's
Thousands of
my
people.
wife and I move in. So
Did your wife, when she was pregnant, and after
you
she
may
was
not
pregnant,
be able to since you live in Russia. So
did
might
you,
have to-
in your family, when your wife was pregnant and gave birth to your child,
Mhm.
did she request assistance from the EDD in the form of paid family leave?
That's none of your damn business. What that is,
Why not?
is
We need to release our taxes. We need to
No,
release our
that's-
taxes the last 5 years.
No,
Why wouldn't
that's
you?
none of your
Are you
business.
afraid to
and that's
demonstrate
not a
hypocrisy, or is
requirement.
it just a
That's-
principled stance here?
Can I respond to you? Number one, with regards to having to require 5 years of tax returns, that has been proven that it is unlawful because they created that and the language is vague. It does not apply to a special election, which this is. And like I said, what happens with my wife in my life and my private finances is none of your business.
It's the business of the people of California, because you want to get rid of the family leave. You want to get rid of family leave in California, and you are a father, you have a wife with children, and I want to know, and the people of California want to know, if you have ever received family leave benefits from the EDD that you want to close down.
It's not candidates Marinelli's business.
Do you want to close down the EDD? And yet you are unwilling to answer whether or not you've ever received benefits from that same organization, while you're telling Californians to go figure it out for their own selves when you become governor.
Okay, since
You're unwilling to say whether or not you personally ever
since you're
received
diving
this
into something personal, let me speak. Number one, my wife and I, we attempted to have a home birth, which went wrong. You asshole! She was having difficulties having my son. We had an emergency and had to go to the damn hospital. Unfortunately, many people are faced with that situation. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want our birth plans as parents to have to go down the drain because people like who we hired with our money that we worked hard for and paid professional, skilled people to do a job, failed at doing that job. We then took that trust that we have as a community into our institutions to then go into a hospital. Don't you dare sit there as a father your damn self. I cannot believe you would even stoop to such a level. This is absurd. This is why I said I wanted to have a structured debate instead of engaging to some back and forth conversation argument like you idiot. You are an idiot. And the people of California
I think that the people of California can now see that Mr. Wildstar doesn't have the temperament.
Okay, this is to both candidates. There will not be any name calling or cursing. I understand. So I'm going to unmute you. If there is continuous name calling and cursing, this will be the end of the debate. I'm now going to unmute you.
Well, I just think
There
that
will
Mr.
be if I
Wildstar
want it
has
to
been
be.
demonstrated that doesn't have the temperament to be the
You
leader
know what?
of the state of
You broke
California.
the rules. I'm going to continue to break them from now on. Don't you dare! You know what? Bring your punk ass to fucking California and say what you
Ladies
just
and
said.
gentlemen, I present you the.
Thank you both. That will be the end of the debate. I asked both candidates to please not curse or yell. One candidate decided to continue to do that. I will give you one last chance. If there's any cursing or name
Say
calling,
what you said to my face. Come to California and say what you just said. Come to California. Say what you just said. I don't give a damn
I
whether
think that
I
the people of
lose.
California
I don't
have
give a
now
damn
seen
whether
that
I
Mr.
win
Wildstar
or
doesn't
lose.
have the temperament
I
to
don't
be
give a
governor
damn whether
of
I
this
win
state.
or lose.
I
Come
think
to
he should withdraw
California,
his candidacy
say what you
immediately
just
and
said,
apologize
see
for his
how we
behavior.
good with it.
Is
You
that who you
piece
want
of
to be
shit.
governor of California? Someone who
You're
loses their
a piece of
temper?
shit. Yes, because I'm going to speak like this to state officials, not the people of California, and not assholes like you who may walk into my office.
okay, I'm sorry. I have asked twice for both candidates to not curse. That has been ignored. We are ending the debate now. Thank you both for
No,
being.
I'm not done. I have one more question.
Both
I
of
will
you
be
from the screen.
asking my question now.
No,
I
you
will
will
be
not.
asking my question now. And
Candidate Marinelli, I apologize. You are also going to be removed from the stream. We will not have yelling or cursing or insults. This debate is now over. Thank you both. That concludes our Yes California recall debate. I tried to do the best that I could. You saw where I asked both candidates to treat each other respectfully. I understand there's passionate issues. We will not tolerate yelling or cursing on these debates. I asked twice. You saw that in video. It didn't happen. I was not able to get to candidate Wildstar's third question. Additionally, we were not able to get to the last statements from both candidates. I'm sure people will be upset about this, but I made an executive decision to make sure that these debates are professional and they do not include cursing or yelling or name calling. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. This ends our debate now. Thank you.